Hey guys, doing a subscriber breakdown of one of my friends, Matt, who is the guy on the left in the black spats. Matt chooses to go for a double leg takedown here rather than a guard pull. I don't know the rule set if it was worth it or not, but you end up getting caught in close guard.
You fucked up.
So here we're going to talk about the mistakes. As you drop immediately to your knees and with your legs in between your opponent. You're not going to be able to generate very much base here, but you're also now allowing your opponent to wrap their legs around you. You're grabbing kind of high up, a little higher on the right side here. Not the best lever control. It also puts you really tight to their hips. So as you drop, you can see how you're completely connected to them and stuck in close guard.
All right, Matt, so I love your enthusiasm going for takedowns, but the double leg landed you into closed guard, which then started to get you into like that whole rubber guard, dead orchard situation that you did a good job defending, but it got you deep in shit. And so the main things that I want you to talk to you about is not dropping to both your knees, not going so deep with your arms, and then not having both your legs positioned in between your opponent's legs so that they're able to establish a guard. So Kevin, if you stand up. So what ended up happening for you is as you entered into this position, you ended up down on both your knees at one point. You gripped high up the hips and super deep. And now if we turn, you can see how Kevin's legs are both on the outside of my legs. And so as you knocked your opponent down and like picked him up, he was able to just go straight into a closed guard from there. If there's points, then, I mean, you still get points from there, but I'd rather you get the takedown and not just end up in your opponent's guard. So, as I enter, one, I want to penetrate with one knee and keep one leg up. So I'm going to be able to generate more base. So from here, as I'm dropping, I'm keeping my posture, dropping down to my knee, cutting in between the line of his base, while this leg is still base up. Whether it's here or I end up coming here, it's going to allow me to start turning the corner and knocking my opponent down. What it also does is notice how instead of here, where the knees are inside, it allows me to have one leg on the outside here. So it's going to be much more difficult for your opponent to actually hook you in a full guard. If anything, we're going to end up in a half guard. Instead of grabbing one higher up on the hips, or really deep with your arms here, I want you to take your hands and go down to the calves. It's going to give us better lever control, making it harder for Kevin to step his leg back. If I grab him here, Kevin steps his legs back, he can still start to sprawl out on me. But if I shoot in, and I got control down at the calves, if he tries to extend backwards at this point, it's actually a lot more difficult. And then with me in strong posture and with this leg able to drive, I'm going to be able to start turning the corner and dumping my opponent down, looking to land straight into side control, which would be the best case scenario, or at least in a double overs passing situation. So make sure as you enter in, regardless of what you do, we penetrate down to the calves, post it up here and on the outside. So even worst case scenario, if I drove Kevin straight back, I'm able to start looking at pressuring in. And if Kevin tries to hook me in anything, he's hooking me in more of a half guard, and I'm going to be able to fire a deep underhook and start moving into pressure passing. I'd much rather you get stuck in half guard, especially with a dominant control of the upper body, rather than ending up in closed guard, which almost got you submitted.
So while in close guard, your opponent starts moving towards rubber guard. With rubber guard, it's a real pain in the ass, but you got to stay real low. You got to try and break their posture by driving your forehead into their chin. You got to be super careful about lifting up because that's going to allow them to bring the foot in front of you. And you drive forward and you end up posting your hand. So here as you drive forward, you can see how you start to lose control of your center of gravity. You post your hand for a second, and with that space now, your opponent's able to bring that leg over to control your shoulder, put you into a dead orchard.
Disappointment, frustration, disgust, outrage.
Yep, this is a real bad position to be in, but you do a good job defending here. You're keeping your opponent stacked, which is breaking their posture. You're trying to keep your hands together to protect your arms by keeping yourself in good structure. Here your opponent's starting to isolate that arm. And this arm, I really thought you were going to be done here. So you're showing some real tenacity, keeping the fight going. Obviously, you got some flexibility too, so you want to be really careful anytime you're deep in these kind of situations, as you are responsible for your safety in a competition. Your opponent is not responsible for your safety. So here you had an opportunity to escape the back. As soon as the body triangle was kind of weak on this side and there's space, you should have tried to bridge and drive your hips through that open space over top of your opponent's leg, which will break down in a sec. Because you kind of drove into your opponent, it allowed them to pull you all the way to the other side and establish a body triangle on the strong side. Here they start to trap your arm, but they don't do it properly. You do a good job getting out. So here you manage to escape the back because your opponent makes a mistake, but you get them into quarter guard. You could have established better control by controlling this bridge a bit better, as well as not dropping to your left hip. And I'm going to break that down right now.
All right, so let's take a look at two of the things that happen within your back control defense. You could have escaped back control much earlier when your opponent kind of almost had like the body triangle on the weak side. And so here as Kevin's got the weak side body triangle and we fall to the side, regardless if it was strong side for the upper body control or with this side, I don't quite know, but you had the head positioning like this. So you're going to be able to start driving a little bit to this side. Now, the body triangle started to get opened up here, and so as it did, what I want you to think about doing is pointing your hips up to the sky and moving your hips more on top of this leg, because what Kevin's going to try and do is either switch the hips, which is what he did to you, pulling you over to the other side, or he's going to try and move up into mount. So by me doing everything I need to with the upper body here, blocking, waiting in that head position, as soon as this leg starts to open up, I start moving my hips on top of this leg. This makes it impossible now for Kevin to pull me to the other side. You stayed over here and maybe even lifted your hips a bit like this, and so your guy just ended up adjusting the hips and was able to keep the back control a little bit longer. So make sure we're just pinning that lever to the ground, so it's going to make it more difficult for your opponent to move and adjust the back control. If they move to mount, then we can look to how we're going to defend that, and that's what I want to talk about here. So go this direction. So Kevin's got back control. Let's back up a little bit. Here, and I start to win this position and get off to the side here. Kevin's going to start looking to move to mount, which is what your opponent did to you. Now you kept the bridge for a bit, but then as your opponent started to move, you kind of just dropped your hips and kept your hips pointing away from your opponent, and it all went to shit. We want to try and get our hips back facing towards, and we want to maintain that bridge as long as possible. So as I'm here, get up on the balls of your feet so you can bridge even higher. Lift your hips and keep them high. What this does is it forces Kevin to have to try and climb a mountain at this point. And so look how much he has to lift his hips in order to try and get up in a mount. So as he drops down, go back to back control. So here, as he starts to lift himself up, as soon as I really feel him lift, I drop my hips and I bring my leg in as a frame here. And this is what's going to allow us to start establishing single leg X, or at least to any kind of butterfly guard at this point, to push our opponent away, get back. So go to this angle. So as I'm here and I turn, and Kevin's going to start to adjust. If I keep my hips flat on the mat, look how little Kevin has to move to get up on top. But if I bridge and lift myself, look how much he has to lift his hips. And now, because I have this space behind me, I'm able to now recede into that space to create room for a frame, bringing my knee up to my elbow. And now at this point, because of where his leg is positioned, I'm able to throw my leg over, going straight into single leg X, which is going to help you, especially as you're in a rule set that allowed heel hooks. So two things that hopefully help you with your back control escapes.
But from this quarter guard, you manage to hip out, pull them into half guard, and get that butterfly hook back. You get an overhook of the arm as well as getting your left foot into a frame on your opponent's hip, which is excellent. So this is all good progress. You really have the ability now to actually start mounting an offense. So if you like half guard, stay in half guard. Otherwise, look to try and get them back to a range that you like. Not that.
I give up.
Stop turning your hips away from your opponent, Matt. But you recover. Back to half guard. Excellent. You got the underhook. You managed to get back up onto your side. And now, there's heel hooks allowed. And Matt entered into this and got bumped up into the division. But Matt, you started this battle. Look, you go to standard Ashi. Then you take your right leg out of protection and go to outside Ashi. You pull them over to 50-50. As you're attacking, you're not protecting your leg. And he manages to counter heel hook you immediately.
What the hell were you thinking?
The problem with 50-50 and outside Ashi is that your leg ends up becoming exposed to the inside heel hook. So especially right now as you're developing your heel hook and leg lock attacks, try and stay with standard Ashi for now, because then your leg is a strong frame in between your opponent's legs. So it's going to be really easy to enter, disengage, potentially guard pass, as well as it keeps your one leg safe. So you're to get countered from standard Ashi is extremely difficult, and so it allows you to really focus on the offense without having to worry about all the different counters your opponent can throw at you. Obviously, you got thrown up into a higher level division, so great work putting yourself out there, Matt, and testing yourself, and thank you for sending me this round of breakdown for you.